the APBA Baja Offshore Series. Today we come to you from the waters off Riviera Beach's Singer Island for the Palm Beach County Offshore Grand Prix and Festival. We have raced in all sorts of water so far on the APBA Baja Offshore Racing Circuit. We've been in lakes, we've been in rivers, we've been in the Gulf of Mexico, but now we're turning our attention to the real lady of offshore racing, the Atlantic Ocean. And holding our attention this weekend, Hurricane Dennis looming off Florida's east coast. It brought miserable weather to the West Palm Beach area, and we're happy to say it missed us. But its lingering effects have sure rocked the waters here off Singer Island. It was really touch and go whether we would even get this race in, but the seas have laid down enough and we're going to go racing. It should be wild as we go rolling with the surf, but you know the seas aren't the only thing stirring up excitement here. So let's check in with Rich Lures.
This is the 7th race of the season, and the stretch drive is underway in several point races, but none closer than in modified class, where this boat, the defending national champion Out of Bounds, is in a bow-to-bow duel with the never-say-die Cat Can Do.
Coming into West Palm, Out of Bounds off that disappointing showing in North Carolina holds just a 6-point lead over Cat Can Do. But apparently Cat Can Do is not quite all repaired from this blowover they suffered in Washington, North Carolina. These guys have worked virtually day and night since that race to get the boat to West Palm Beach. They've spent countless hours relaminating, actually rebuilding this fiberglass boat. They had to put a whole new bow on one sponset. But minutes before race time, they've now come across some engine and trim problems. Mechanics are furiously working on the Cat Can Do to get it ready for the start. It's very, very questionable whether they're going to make it. In Super V, it's basically now or never for the V1 Ocean Spray. They trail the V76 Fountain of Art Lilly and Jeff Harris by just 30 points and need nothing less than a win here in Palm Beach. Then they'll need a little help from the rest of the field. Realistically, they need a last place showing from the V76 plus a win to seriously cut into that lead.
Now, Cat Can Do is not on the race course with Out of Bounds and Pepsi 1 for the start. Whether they make it out to grab any kind of points is a big question right now. So we will watch very closely to see what happens.
A big fleet of factory 2 boats. These boats have to be concerned with disappearing in the big rollers with all that modified and Super V traffic out there.
You'd better strap up and buckle up on that sofa out there, because we're getting ready for wild and woolly action in West Palm Beach, Florida, right off of Riviera Beach. Now, this is the start of the modified, the Super V, and we have one USA 1 entry. That's Drambuie on Ice Extreme Team.
And the Extreme Team boat just out of your screen there now. She's coming in the center of your screen. That is at 162 miles an hour. By far the fastest boat in the class in the world. And watch that big 46-foot skater. And there's your start. They've dropped the flag and the racing is on. Big horsepower. 2,600 horsepower in the V-bottoms. And 2,000 horsepower in that big USA 1 boat, the big Drambuie.
That Drambuie on Ice boat has tremendous acceleration for the size and power that it's carrying on board the boat. It is now airborne and riding high. We're going to see a lot of action as these boats go down. You can already see right there one of the boats popping literally out of the water and coming down absolutely flat. Let's hope they can keep coming down flat all the way around. The biggest problem with rollers is that you may get that nose dug in and flip the boat over, as we saw earlier in the show, and that was on a calm river in North Carolina. Look at Drambuie on Ice popping out literally out of the water. 2,000 horsepower developing that wake off the back of that boat.
Every time they go airborne, they have to back off on the throttles lest they blow the engines. So you've got to control that 2,000 horsepower. And in these hurricane conditions, look at the speed they're making.
Now we have in the V boats, the V76 Fountain is leading Ocean Spray. Ocean Spray must win this race to keep that points battle alive and stand any chance at all at a national championship. There you see Bruce Penhall and Dennis Segalis trying to find speed in that boat.
2 of the best motorcycle racers in the world. They've got their hands full with Art Lilly and Jeff Harris in the V-bottom, the center of your screen, the V76 Fountain. Now, they were in some of the worst crashes this year we've seen. They're still pushing.
And the V76 leads the Ocean Spray, which is the boat in the dead center of your screen. Coming up on the inside of them, the V41 Nemshoff. This is a battle up front.
Meanwhile, looking back at second place in the modified class, we see the Out of Bounds, but nowhere on the course do we see Cat Can Do. Out of Bounds, looking for the national championship. Their biggest competitor is not on the race course right now.
Well, that's going to be a sigh of relief that you're going to hear from that crew, because Lance Lanciano and Steve Neely are in a borrowed boat, and they're not totally comfortable in this boat. They have a new boat being built. It's not ready yet. They want to hold those points if they can. Let's go over to the Factory 2 and look at this start. Talk about ride 'em cowboy.
Yes, this is the closely matched Factory 2 fleet. Every boat in this class has exactly the same motor combination. Two 500 HP Merc Cruisers in box stock factory boats. Anybody can win, and most of these guys obviously want to. They're in hurricane seas. They've got a big challenge today, not only from the seas themselves and Mother Nature, but each boat in the class. What a tightly packed race this is going to be.
And talk about trusting the guys around you to know what they're doing and to be able to control their boats. This is a great example of it. That's the pace boat that was pulling into the infield there. APBA Baja Offshore Racing is brought to you by Baja. Baja, speed changes you. Riviera Beach's Singer Island, but also helps a cause called Racing to Teach All Children to Swim. Proceeds from this event help build these portable teaching pools on lowboy trailers, which are then taken around along with YMCA instructors to kids who don't have pools in their area. Drowning is the #1 killer of children in Palm Beach County. We certainly applaud the efforts of the Palm Beach County Offshore Grand Prix and Festival for doing something about it.
We're back at Riviera Beach, where Cat Can Do is still struggling. Cat Can Do is back at the dock undergoing repair. And during the break, we caught up with a very disappointed Barry Glovick.
We've had a couple of tough races here. You know, we were plagued with a lot of little mechanical problems, and we struggled to get the motors running and the trims working. And I'm going to have to quit racing on Sunday and start going to church.
Well, this, of course, is very good news for the M1 out of bounds. As we heard earlier, this boat is nowhere near full song. But Lance Lanciano and Steve Neely will take what they can get. They took the flag here with a 6-point lead, and they can add to it with each lap around the track.
They are the only boat on the course that does not have to win to succeed here today. They can advance in the National Championship points race merely by finishing.
And in the modifieds, the Pepsi 1 Prolong, two South Florida guys, Joey Padovano and Charlie Hames, are out in front in the modifieds, the M11 Pepsi 1 Prolong.
Catching big air, this catamaran riding on a cushion of air to begin with, running over 6 to 8 foot rollers out here in the post-hurricane seas. They're showing that a catamaran can really eat up rough water.
And we ought to tell you that sometimes when you're looking down from the air, as we are right now, these seas tend to flatten out a little bit. If you were looking head on, you would sometimes not even see these boats.
It's do or die time for Ocean Spray. They gotta take a win here if they want to have any hope in the national points battle. Right now they are showing the way over Art Lilly's fountain, but Art Lilly is a force to be reckoned with, because Art Lilly all season long has been unstoppable, almost maniacal in the way he's been throttling this year. Lots of accidents, but man, when he runs, he flies out of these race courses.
And let's face it, he also knows that Dennis Segalis and Bruce Penhall are going to try to take the win, and here comes Art Lilly. Lilly now in a battle for first place, both of those boats flying out of the water as Ocean Spray tries to hold on to the lead. Art Lilly in the Pier 57 Fountain V76 trying to close on the inside.
Art Lilly and Jeff Harris betting the ranch again. What a gutsy move. Tried to nose in coming into the turn, took the inside lane. Now the guys in the Ocean Spray Fountain cannot fight him off because he's got that inside lane right now.
We'll see. It's going to be power against power. No other way to put it. And there was a little bit of a tick in the turn for the Ocean Spray. That was a little bit of a trick move. We'll see if it holds on for them.
And the race for 4th place shows the CGS Ferocious, a big velocity V10, sneaking inside of the Citgo Superguard here in that same turn. Citgo made a mistake. They backed off a little bit, hit a big roller, had to give way to that Ferocious. The Ferocious guys, they're standing up in there. They're using their legs to sort of cushion the blows from these big high force G impacts when they re-enter the water. Citgo Superguard sitting down in the cockpit.
It has been a great race, and there's racing all over the course, and sometimes the fans on the shoreline are losing sight of these boats in the big rollers, in the F2 class. Let's run through the field in Factory 2. First of all, the F2 38. They still haven't quite bounced back all the way from their wreck in Washington, North Carolina. Teresa Ostrander is driving that boat, and she is doing a great job.
Looking back over their shoulders, they see this boat, the F296 Team of Vanna. Richard Granville and Joseph Camacho, they're flying out here too. Moving up to 6th place, Brian Kirby and world-famous Doug Lewis, the throttle man, in the F21 Sutphin, holding a nice 6th place position.
And the F248 Cigarette. Take a look at that boat. That's the return of Cigarettes. Remember, they really established offshore racing years ago. That was the one word that you knew about offshore racing. racing. That hole was famous.
Cigarette legendary in the sport. Here's the battle for second place, and a tight one it is, as we see Awesome making a move on the outside over Team Renegade. They are battling it out for second, but Awesome carried more speed out of the turn, and they are using that extra speed, 1 to 2 miles an hour, to pull away from the Renegade.
Boy, oh boy, F2 Racing, it's exactly what they envisioned, and here is your leader. This is Snapperhead Offshore Racing Team, and they are doing a great job. Remember, back to the start, when we had all those boats all over the water, this is the boat that has survived and taken over the lead.
The flag dropped, and they checked out from the rest of the field, and a great spot to check out the race is the Holiday Inn right on Singer Island. We'll be back with more right after this.
They're having a field day with the remnants of Hurricane Dennis. Meanwhile, also catching some waves, the Drambuie on Ice Extreme Team. Forrest Barber's team is hanging 10 on the backstretch under the watchful eye of his safety team. Those guys in the helicopter will be the focus of today's Safety Spotlight, hosted by John Tomlinson.
The Drambuie on Ice Extreme Team is extreme when it comes to safety. We have some of the most advanced safety equipment at our disposal, but our most reliable safety weapons are the guys who make up our safety rescue team. Tilden Billeter has been involved in offshore racing for over 14 years. He flew rescue helicopter missions in Vietnam, and we have complete faith knowing he'll keep danger and potential injuries to a minimum if we're ever upside down in the water.
There's a lot of things that we have to consider before we go in the water and make sure that everything's set before we deploy. We kind of go into what we call automatic. We're immediately taking off headphones. We're doing communications with our pilot to make sure that we're all on track. We head to the scene. We'll get into our position, which would probably be on facing the traffic, lights flashing. We'll do a visual on where the driver and the throttle man are if they're out of the boat, and we'll deploy on that.
His partner, Charlie Bass, is also an offshore racing veteran and keeps his rescue skills sharp as a fire lieutenant in Davie, Florida.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a number of years, and I've never been on a rescue that was the same. A lot of times we're working in zero visibility. We have to feel our way across the boat to find the canopy. You have to know where everything's at, and you can't do that without practice. And make quick, analytical decisions to know what you need to do and what you need to do to achieve that goal.
I'm glad you got to meet two of the most important members of the Drambuie on Ice Extreme Team. They're just another reason why we're a champion in every sense of the word.
And this reminder from the Drambuie on Ice Extreme Team, be a safe boater, won't you? Boating and drinking never mix. When the race ends, that's when the celebration begins. Drambuie on Ice. There you see that beautiful boat as it races along in the waters off Singer Island, Riviera Beach.
And the boat, 46 foot of skater with 2,000 horsepower. This is the view from the cockpit.
You can see how he sees the rooster tails of other boats ahead of him. Now, don't forget, these classes are intermixing, so they've got to watch out for all the boats. Some of them very slow on the course compared to what speeds they're going.
In the Super V class, this boat, the V76 Fountain, has taken the lead. Art Lilly and Jeff Harris once again have gone where the other boats refuse to go. They've gone to full throttle at times in hurricane conditions. Now, these guys have taken chances all year. They've paid the price again and again, but still hammered down hard as they can go, and they have challenged the Ocean Spray boat. They've said basically this: if you can match our speed, you can win this race. If you won't, here's the replay of the pass. They went right by Ocean Spray. They didn't back off. Ocean Spray hit a big roller. The Fountain went right through it, and Art Lilly and Jeff Harris are just tearing up the race course.
So we look at second place in the Super Vs. Now it is Ocean Spray Fountain still fighting hard to try to get back up and contend for the lead. But boy, I got to tell you, the way Art Lilly and Jeff Harris went by them in the V76 Pier 57 Fountain, I just don't see that they have that kind of power.
Oh, they've got plenty of power in there, and you've got two of the best motorcycle racers in the world, Dennis Sagalos and Bruce Penhall. But can they use the power? Now, diesel power is in this boat. The V41 Nemshov, an Italian design from Fabio Buzzi, known for its rough water capability. But oddly enough, they're watching those two speed burners up in first and second place.
Right, we've watched first, second, and now third place as they run on here. We told you there was action all over the field, and we do not lie about that. Here is the CGS Ferocious being challenged on the outside by the V21 Citgo for not first, not second, not third, but fourth place. Look at those guys nose to nose.
Citgo had some problems earlier on, but they are coming back. This is a West Coast team. They're used to the big rollers in the Pacific, and right now they're just advancing their position over the Ferocious, but the racing up front is just too much for these two to catch up to.
So we see that in the Super Bs, they are side by side all over the course, and there are challenges being issued. In the modifieds, not so. The M11 Pepsi 1 Prolong, Joey Padovano and Charlie Hames. Joey driving, Charlie on the throttles. They have had it since the start, and they are riding beautifully. Maybe it's those South Florida hometown roots. I don't know.
Woo, are they flying over these seas? That boat is running well over 100 miles an hour in 8-foot seas. This is an amazing thing to see. It's 40 feet long. That's a big boat, but not as big as this one. 43 feet long, the out of bounds. Lance Lanciano and Steve Neely, they are not comfortable in this boat, and they've said so. This boat is an alien boat to them. They borrowed it. They are not feeling good in the seat. They're flying here in big seas. They didn't expect this kind of competition, these kind of seas. They're doing fine, though, because the national points race is what's on their mind.
Now let's talk more of the F2 racing. The F277 has fallen off the pace. The F213 right there, the Renegade boat, is now in second place, and they're not being challenged for it because, as we said, the 77 has fallen off the pace. Snapperhead Offshore is leader, and Factory 2 will be back to finish this race in just a moment. Changes you. What a tremendous story for Art Lilly and Jeff Harris. Now, they were involved in that unbelievable wreck in Baltimore. They take the mantle, world's fastest V-bottom with a kilo mark in North Carolina, and now it looks like they're going to build up a lead which will pretty much mathematically eliminate the V1 Ocean Spray from the title.
And for Ocean Spray, those costly did not finishes. Running out of gas in Baltimore. They dug themselves a hole, and with the consistency and aggressiveness of Art Lilly this season, the Ocean Spray never could make up the kind of real estate they had to overtake the V76 boat in the standings. It's a tough uphill battle for this boat right here, the Ocean Spray Fountain. They have lost their mantle, world's fastest V-bottom, and they have lost their bid for the national championship.
Meanwhile, in the modifieds, the winning boat is going to be the M11 Pepsi 1 Prolong. They are current leader and coming down for the checkered flag. They really were uncontested. Once they took the lead off the start line, Out of Bounds was literally out of it in second place, and they've held on to that. But Joey Padovano, Charlie Hames, they are South Florida boys coming from around the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. They wanted to take the win. On board the Out of Bounds, we have re-emphasized again and again, this is a borrowed boat. They are not comfortable, but they are going to garner in those points.
Didn't get as much of a pad as they would have liked to, because we just received word that the Cat Can Do has officially started the race as it comes to a halt. Pepsi 1 takes the lead. Out of Bounds, second place. Cat Can Do, third.
This means a lot to us in the Pepsi 1 team, and Joey drove a great race. We had fun and came home number 1. Yeah!
We thought it was going to be a lot rougher out there. It was real big, but you can kind of stay on top of it as long as you tucked it under just a little bit. It was a whole lot of fun.
And when all was said and done, Out of Bounds padded their lead by 10 points and now leads Cat Can Do by 16. Meanwhile, Art Lilly and Jeff Harris have just completed the most important chapter in their storybook season. The V76 Fountain picks up their biggest win of the year over Ocean Spray. That pretty much wraps up the Super V title. CGS Ferocious came back and took fourth away from Citgo. Afterwards, we spoke with our winners.
Easy peasy. We had some big seas out there. I've raced 15 years, never ran over seas like that. That was, you couldn't see over the other side of them. It was kind of scary doing that. We were on the edge all day, but that's what it takes to win a race out there.
With the win, V76 Fountain takes a commanding 41-point lead over Ocean Spray in the national high point standings. The top 5 in Factory 2, a fine second-place effort by the F213 Renegade. F277 Awesome faded to 5th, but the real story, the gang from Snapperhead, our 6th different winner in 7 races this season.
Everybody's running the same thing, extremely competitive. Not allowed any mistakes. The guy who makes the least mistakes runs the fastest, he wins that day.
And today was your day.
Today was our day.
Our congratulations to Snapperhead Offshore and all our winners, and that'll do it from Riviera Beach. Join us next week when we bring you the biggest event of the APBA season, the Up-to-Graph LASIK Vision World Finals from St. Petersburg, Florida. For more, click on to TNN's website, country.com. The APBA Baja Offshore Series is produced by Diamond P Sports in association with TNN. Dick Crippen for Rich Lors. So long, everybody.